My own family sold my house, after I'd paid off every last dollar of their $280,000 debt. My name's Kristen Moore. It was a Wednesday afternoon. The sun was slipping behind the tall pines that had stood like silent guards in the front yard for as long as I could remember, quiet, indifferent. I'd just finished a double shift at the hospital. My body ached that deep, bone-tired ache, but beneath the exhaustion was a flicker of pride. The night before, my mom had cried into my shoulder, whispering thanks I'd barely heard through her tears. My dad, who'd never once held me as a kid, had pulled me into a hug so tight and sudden it knocked the wind out of me. "You're our hero," he said. And for that fragile moment, I believed him. Maybe now, I thought. Maybe now I matter. That thought clung to me as I got out of my car. The gravel crunched beneath my boots like quiet applause. But as I walked up to the house, something was off. At first, just a faint feeling, like a whisper slipping away before you catch it. The windows were bare. The driveway was empty, like a wound. The flower beds, my mom's pride and joy, had been ripped apart, dirt clawed and raw. My breath hitched, a sharp thread of dread tightening inside me. I hurried to the front door and fumbled with the key. It turned, but the house was already gone. Inside, nothing. Just empty rooms and naked walls echoing back at me. The home I'd poured everything into was stripped down to its bones. On the bare hardwood floor lay a white envelope, like a cruel grin. My name was scribbled across it in messy ink. "Thanks for fixing our credit, loser. We moved to Florida with your brother. Don't call." No signature. No apology. Just that. I don't remember dropping the envelope. Only the sharp sting as my knees hit the floor. The air felt too thin, the walls too far away, as if even the house was turning its back on me. I wasn't crying. I wasn't breathing. I was untethered, floating in a silence that screamed. Somehow I ended up outside. I don't know if I walked or crawled. The grass was cool beneath me, indifferent to my collapse. Neighbors passed by, waving like nothing was wrong, and their smiles cut through me like knives. I wanted to scream, to tear something apart with my bare hands. "Dad." But I didn't move. I just sat there, letting the truth settle in my bones, heavy and cold, and then quietly I smiled. Because they didn't know. A week earlier, when I signed the final mortgage check, I'd also signed something else. The title transfer. Every document. Filed, notarized, sealed. They thought they were clever, that they could gut me, leave me empty, and disappear into a Florida sunset. But the sale they tried to make? It was just smoke and mirrors. They had no idea what was coming. Still, I didn't scream. I didn't chase them with threats or rage. I just sat as the sun bled down my legs, the envelope wilted in my hand, and the weight of years spent being useful but never enough pressed down on me. They really did it. Used me like a checkbook. Tossed me aside like trash. But in their rush to erase me, they left behind something they never meant to give. Control. While they schemed, I was learning. Watching. Reading every line, every clause, every detail they thought I was too blind to see. For once, I wasn't desperate for their approval. I was paying attention. The illusion was gone. Shattered. And something else was starting to take shape. Here's how we got here. 6 months ago, I was sleeping in my car after a 12-hour hospital shift. I was crashing at a friend's place after my ex kicked me out, but pride convinces you you're a burden, even when you're not. That night, my phone lit up. It was my mom. Sobbing. "Kristen, we're going to lose the house. Your dad made some bad investments. We're $280,000 in debt." That house wasn't just wood and nails. It was my anchor. The porch where I'd made birthday wishes. The staircase where Christmas mornings started with whispers and giggles. Losing it felt like losing a limb, the last piece of me that mattered. I asked, "What happened to Grandpa's inheritance?" She sighed, heavy and rehearsed. "We used it to help your brother start his business. You know how hard it's been for him." Of course. Casey, the golden child. The one who crashed cars, lost jobs, betrayed girlfriends, and still wore a crown. But the thought of strangers walking through our house, tearing it apart, was unbearable. So I did what I always do. I fixed it. I drained my savings. maxed out every credit card, took out a loan that would follow me for years. When I walked into their living room with a folder full of cashier's checks, they were speechless. Dad went quiet. Mom sank to her knees. "You're an angel," she whispered. They made dinner, took smiling photos, posted it all online like I was a soldier coming home from war. For a moment, it was enough. Because I was seen. That's what really hurt the most. They didn't just steal my money. They stole the fragile illusion that I was loved, at least as much as him. But that illusion was gone. And in the quiet it left behind, I realized something simple and terrifying. I wasn't going to be their safety net anymore. While they packed for Florida, I was finalizing paperwork. They didn't even look at what they were signing, too eager to think it was just refinancing forms. They didn't believe I had it in me. But standing in that empty house, the only thing I felt was clarity. Raw, unpolished, real. They thought they'd stripped me of everything. But really, they handed me the match. They gave me the choice. And I didn't need to burn the bridge in anger. I just had to walk away and never look back. The next morning, I stood in the county clerk's office, hoodie pulled over my head, sunglasses shielding me, not out of shame, but because of the weight of what was about to happen. This wasn't hiding. It was owning the silence they left behind. "Miss Moore," the clerk said, sliding a manila folder across the counter with a smile. "Everything's official. The sale your parents tried to make is void. The property is still yours." I nodded once. Calm. Steady. But inside, something sparked, quiet and persistent. The buyers had already wired money into my parents' account, not knowing the deed wasn't even in their name. That mistake had a name. Fraud. A felony. I want the truth to catch up to them the way it caught up to me. I want the weight of their choices to land, for once, squarely on their own shoulders. But right now, in this moment, I'm not going to be invisible anymore. I stepped outside, the warm breeze brushing my skin like a quiet reminder that life keeps moving, even when everything else feels like it's falling apart. My fingers hovered over my phone, 4 missed calls flashing from a Florida area code. Let them sweat. Let them wonder what's next. That night, I called the local sheriff's office. Saying the words out loud, someone trying to sell my house without my permission, felt like carrying a weight. I emailed every document I had, signatures, notarized papers, straight to the buyer's reps. Within 2 hours, the sale was frozen. The moving trucks had to turn around. But my parents, they were already ghosts, gone long before consequences caught up. They thought they'd be soaking up the sun in Boca Raton, margaritas in hand. Instead, their fantasies started slipping away like sand through their fingers. Their bank accounts teetered on the edge of seizure. And Casey, the so-called golden boy they always protected, was about to watch his fresh start crumble. Jobless, broke, and still leaning on Mom. I waited and waited. No calls. No explanations. Just silence. Deafening silence. So I posted one simple thing on Facebook. If you ever feel used, don't get mad, get smart. And always read the deed. Then I turned off all notifications. Let them stew in that. Let their unanswered questions eat away at them. That night, alone in the empty living room, I laughed. Not angry, no, it was relief. Because I wasn't the girl begging to be loved anymore. I was the woman who owned the house, holding the power quietly in her hands. They were just intruders in a world they thought they built but never earned. At 2:17 a.m., the first message came through. "Where are you? Why is the bank saying the house isn't ours? Call me now." 2 missed calls followed, one from Casey, one from an unknown Florida number. I didn't answer. I lay in bed, lights off, phone face down, a small smile curling my lips. Let them drown in confusion. By morning, they were unraveling. Casey left a voicemail, his voice breaking with panic and rage. "You need to fix this, Kristen. You ruined everything. Mom's having chest pains. Dad's screaming at everyone. You think this is funny? We're out thousands. You have 1 day before we take legal action. Legal action for a house I paid for myself." I made eggs and coffee, hit replay on that voicemail, letting their desperation echo through the empty kitchen. Then I sent a group text. "Under Florida law, trying to sell a home you don't own is fraud. I have all the paperwork. The sale is void. The money will be returned to the buyers, and the house is still mine. Since you left in such a rush, I figured you wouldn't mind if I changed the locks. Silence. 3 hours later, another voicemail, this time from Mom. Her crying sounded different, quieter. Broken. Pride crumbling. Sweetheart, we made a mistake. We just wanted a fresh start. We didn't think you'd go this far. Your dad didn't mean what he wrote in the letter. He panicked. Can we talk? No. You don't talk to someone who stabs you while hugging you. You walk away and let them bleed from their own blade. Instead, I called the neighborhood association, reported unauthorized activity on the property, updated city records, flagged the house as legally disputed. If they tried anything else, I was ready. I started planning my next moves, not from hate, but with cold, steady calm. Because when your family weaponizes your love, you stop being their daughter and become their reckoning. I knew Casey would crack first. He always does. Pressure hits him like dry brush catching fire, fast and messy but empty underneath. He called from a restricted number. I answered but stayed silent. His voice was low, wrecked. Giselle left me. Took the kids. She said she can't stay married to someone financially irresponsible. She found a letter Dad wrote you, the one that said, "Thanks for fixing our credit, loser." He laughed bitterly. She called me a parasite. I said nothing, just listened. Mom and Dad are crashing on an air mattress in Uncle Benedict's basement. He says they can't stay past next week. They think maybe we should come back and try to fix things. Come back? Fix things? Finally, I spoke steady and clear. There's no we, Casey. You made that clear the day you watched me drain my bank account without a single thank you. Silence. They're your parents, Kels. Are you really going to leave them on the street? I smiled, hard enough it hurt. Funny. That's exactly what they did to me. No more pretending. I wasn't their golden goose anymore. I was the hammer, steady, unyielding, and finally free. Over the next few days, I quietly rebuilt, not with fury, but with steady hands and clearer eyes. New locks clicked shut, guarding not just a house but the fragile edges of my peace. Fresh furniture filled empty rooms with soft promise. A new coat of paint covered the hallway walls, the same hallway where pencil marks charted the growth of a childhood I'd once clung to too tightly. I didn't paint out of anger. I painted because I was learning to stop letting the past stalk me like a shadow. Then the call came, Mom and Dad's lawyer. Calm, careful, offering a peaceful resolution, something family-centered. I let his words hang like smoke and asked just one thing. Did they tell you they left me homeless 5 years ago when I needed a place to stay? He hesitated. They said Casey needed his privacy more than you needed a roof. Another pause. No, Miss Moore, they didn't mention that. I hung up. I wasn't chasing justice in a courtroom. I wanted control, calm, unshakable control. They could chase paper illusions. The foundation was mine. The mortgage was mine. Their Florida dreams were already ash. I didn't burn bridges. I just stopped building ones they could cross to crush me. The day the moving truck pulled up, not theirs, mine, I stood barefoot on the driveway, wrapped in leggings and a worn sweatshirt. I sipped iced coffee like it was a sacred ritual of survival. Neighbors waved. Some asked if my parents were moving back. I smiled, steady and soft. No, I said. Just clearing out the past. Making space for a future that finally belongs to me. Inside, the hall closet held ghosts, Mom's wedding album, Casey's trophies, Dad's dusty box of important papers, unpaid bills, unfiled taxes. I boxed it all up, labeled it simply, returned to sender, taped it tight and drove to Uncle Benedict's. When he opened the door, the stale smell of coffee and laundry hit me like a cold wave. I caught sight of them, Mom's frizzy hair, Dad's hollow eyes, Casey slumped on the floor, hoodie pulled low, ghost-like with his phone. I didn't even step inside. I left the box right at the door. Dad reached for it, his eyes flickering with something like hope. Kristen, you should have said thank you, he said. Instead of treating me like your personal ATM. Mom opened her mouth, but no words came. She looked thinner, not worn down by grief, but by the weight of finally standing on her own. I turned away. Casey stood up. Kristen, wait. What are we supposed to do now? I stopped and finally told him the truth that had been building inside me for years. Figure it out. Like I always had to. No yelling. No tears. Just my footsteps fading into the heavy silence they left behind. That night, I changed my number. Deleted the family group chat. Blocked them all. For the first time in years, my mind was quiet. No guilt. No longer the good daughter. No longer the fixer. No longer the forgiver. They taught me love was a transaction, so I gave back exactly what they gave me. Nothing. Because when someone steals your trust and sells your kindness like property, you don't buy it back. You close the door and keep the key. Weeks passed. No calls. No texts. No apologies. Just silence. And it was the most peace I had ever known. I spent mornings in the sunroom, sunlight pooling over pages of books I used to push aside to pay their bills. I replanted Mom's old orchids, those delicate things she swore wouldn't survive. They bloomed for me. I signed up for a pottery class. Painted the guest room a soft ocean blue. Turned Dad's old office, the one I was never allowed in as a kid, into a studio for my own business. A space that finally belonged to me. Then one morning, an email appeared. From Giselle. Not Casey. The subject line read, "I know everything. And I'm sorry." She wrote about Florida, the way my parents treated her like unpaid help, expecting her to cook and clean while they wasted what little money was left, not on vacations or luxuries, but on illusions. Then she found the letter, the one that broke it all open, and confronted Casey. He blamed me. That's when she left. "I thought Casey was a man," she wrote, "but he's just your father with a younger face. And you're the only one who showed real integrity. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. If you ever want to talk woman to woman, I'm here." I haven't replied, not out of anger, but because I'm finally protecting the person I should have chosen all along, myself. Sometimes healing means closing chapters. Other times, it means keeping the door shut, even when someone knocks with sincerity. I'm not ready to open it, but I don't hate her for trying. As for Casey, last I heard, he moved into a rundown apartment outside Tampa. No wife, no car, no job, just him and his entitlement. Apparently, he tried making money with NFTs. Of course he failed. My parents, Uncle Benedict kicked them out after they missed rent 3 times. Now they drift from cheap motel to cheap motel, posting blurry Facebook updates pretending everything is fine. But I know better. Because when you destroy the only child who ever lifted you, eventually the ground disappears and the fall is silent. Last week, I passed a homeless man sitting by a fountain. He looked up and for a moment I thought it was my dad. It wasn't. Just the same slumped shoulders. The same vacant stare of someone who bet everything and lost. That night, I lit a candle in the hallway, the very hallway where, as a child, I once hid, trembling behind those closed doors filled with shouting and shadows. Barefoot, I stood there in the quiet, letting the soft flicker of flame touch the walls and fill the space with a warmth I'd never felt before. And for the first time, I said it aloud. I did the right thing. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because, finally, I don't suffer anymore. No more begging to be loved. No more paying the price just to belong. No more handing out second chances like they were spare change. They thought strength came from enduring pain, but I found mine in choosing to leave. This house is mine now. Every brick, every corner, every silent breath it holds. But it's never been about the deed on paper. It's about the peace that fills this space now, like sunlight spilling through a window long shut. No more calls that claw at my heart. No more guilt disguised in Bible verses. No more birthday messages from Casey, asking for just a little help until payday. I've closed the doors, digitally, emotionally, permanently. Now, I plant flowers where they once buried resentment, tending petals that bloom with kindness and care. I gather friends who say thank you and truly mean it. I laugh freely in the kitchen without flinching at the sound of a slammed door down the hall. I am not the sum of what I gave away. I am the value they never recognized, the home they will never enter again. Because this chapter didn't close with bitterness, it closed with redemption. I didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. All I did was stop saving them. And in that, I found myself. The quiet courage to rise, the gentle power of letting go, and the unshakable truth that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself and build a life no one can ever take away. Have you ever been through something like this? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Thanks so much for watching Rise with Sherry. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more.